Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church is celebrating 100 years.
It is day 2.
A terrific Thursday.
Welcome back to Hill's cooking channel. Today I am going to be preparing jam buns. Now everybody loves jam buns. They're a nice dessert. The children love them and the adults love them. They're beautiful. So we're going to start. Remember the last time we did the coconut bread? We did it by the melting method. Today we are going to be doing the jam buns by the rubbing method. Rubbing means that we are going to be taking the butter. We have the butter and your flour. I would have measured it here on the ingredients here. So we have your flour, baking powder. This is the dry ingredients. And I put in a little cinnamon today to spice it up. Already sieved. We're going to add our margarine. So with the rubbing method, it is always half fat to flour. And you want your margarine to be nice and firm like this. You can keep it in the fridge until you're ready for it, so that you can rub the fat into the flour. So using my spatula, I would have scraped off the ingredients into the bowl. And now we are ready to rub the fat into the flour. Now remember I said it's a rubbing method. Now I have a whisk here in my hand. I'm not beating eggs, but what I normally do is to use this to rub the fat into the flour. You can use your fingertips, and you can also use you can say a tool called a pastry blender. But if you don't have a pastry blender in your home, you can use your fingertips or fork. All right, but I will be using the whisk. All right, so what you do is you try to rub the fat into the flour like this. So you're starting off with only your flour, your baking powder, and your butter. So as you can see, I am rubbing the fat into the flour and until it resembles frying breadcrumbs. This is what we call the rubbing method. So you can see the fat is breaking down and it's beginning to look like breadcrumbs. So once we have the fat fully incorporated into the flour or rubbed into the flour, we can get ready to add our other ingredients. And when I use the whisk, if you can see, it is not messy as much as possible. Your fingers are not dirty as yet. So the next ingredient we're going to add is our sugar. All right, so I'm going to add, and if you notice, we have white sugar this time around. So just stirring this. Stir it in so that it's evenly distributed. And next we are ready for our liquid ingredients. So I have my 2 eggs already whisked and my essence, vanilla and lemon essence, to add some flavor and to help cut the rawness of the egg. So you make a hole in the middle. Get out my spoon. Make a well, or what you call a hole in the middle, and you're going to add your egg and your essence. And I use my spoon as much as possible to bring together the ingredients. If you don't have a palette knife, I use my spoon. As they say, if you don't have horse, ride a cow. You'll still get the job done. So I'm just bringing as much as possible the ingredients together to form a ball, just like how I did it with the coconut bread. When you can't get any more incorporated with your palette knife or your big metal spoon, you're going to use your fingers to bring the rest together. Now, normally if the eggs are big and you have enough liquid, you would not need to add any milk to bring it together. So I'll pause here. Using my spatula, just take off the extra ingredients on the spoon. Let none be wasted. And I'm going to use my hands now to bring the ingredients together to make a nice thick consistency, stiff consistency, because we're going to be making jam buns, so we want to make them into balls. So by working using your fingers now, and earlier when I spoke to you about using the fork and the pastry blender, your fingertips, do not use the palm of your hand when you're rubbing in the fat into the flour, because the palm of your hand is usually warm, so it will cause the fat to melt, and you want your fat to be nice and cool and firm, okay, so that you get a nice stiff consistency like this. So if you notice, there's nothing really on my hand. Once you have the correct amount of ingredients, it should go well. So what we do now, once it is like this is the consistency. When you touch the dough, it should be pliable, not stiff, and you should be able to break it off in pieces like this. And we're going to roll it with your palm of your hand now. You're making your balls as much as possible, and I'm going to form the balls. So taking into consideration how many you want to have and the amounts that you would have used, so you're rolling into your balls. Try to be as consistent as possible with the size as possible. Some you might get small, some you might get bigger, depending on how much you pinch off. Alright, so normally with about 8 ounces of flour, you might get 14 or 15. So hopefully with a double the amount, all you have to do with the recipe is to double the amount. I would have done 1 pound, so hopefully I should get 20 something. And the word is yield. Yield means how much you will get from the recipe. So this is it. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fours are 20. 23 basically. So now how do I get my jam into my mixture? So I have the balls. What you need is the end of your wooden spoon. If you don't have your wooden spoon, you can use the end of a spoon, okay, round end. And you're going to make some holes into the mixture, into the dough like this. So I'm making my holes. Don't go too deep because you don't want to make a hole. Too far down and then the jam drips out. And you know what happens to jam once heat is applied? It will start to melt and then burn. And we don't want our items to burn as much as possible. So we just take in, if it begins to stick to the handle of the spoon or whatever you're using, you can just dip it in a little flour and it will then come back out nice and smoothly. Right. So the next thing now is to apply or to put in your jam. And I love to use this Rose La Flamme strawberry jam. It's a nice beautiful color. Right. You see, it's nice and firm. Some of the other brands, sad to say, are a little soft and runny. But this gives a nice, it's nice and firm. And when I cut it off like this and I put it in just a small amount, you don't want too much because it will begin to melt and run over as well and burn, stick to the pan as well. Alright, so we are basically finished with our jam buns. As you can see, they're nice and colorful and everything already. So we're going to get ready to put them in the oven. Okay, so we are at the finished product of our jam buns, and as you can see here, would have started the process. I just used my palette knife or my spatula to lift up the jam buns from off the baking tray. I also would have tested to see that it is done by using the toothpick. When it comes out, it is clean and is a nice golden brown color.